sand lifts in a whisper before the crash. A wall of shields, a forest of spears, sunlight turning iron into a white flame. You think you know what comes next? Glorious duels, clashing swords, heroes shouting their names into history. You don't. Real Roman battle felt like a vice closing around your lungs. Forget the choreographed duels. Forget pretty swordplay. What mattered first was shape. The shape of bodies, ranks, and fear knitted into geometry. Men became a machine. Leather creaked. Joints popped. Someone coughed. The ground underfoot was already a rumor of blood and trampled grass. And above it all, the steady drumbeat that wasn't a drum at all. Just thousands of disciplined boots remembering how to move as one. Picture a legionary before contact. Not a bare-chested hero, but a worker in war gear. He checks the strap on his scutum, the curved rectangle of wood and rawhide rising from shin to chin. A portable door against the world. He tests his Gladius, short, sharp, made to stab, not to paint arcs in the sky. He adjusts the weight of his pilum, the heavy throwing spear built to bend on impact, to lodge in a shield and make it useless. He breathes through wool, dust, and the faint metallic taste of nerves. He glances left and right and sees the same face repeated 1,000 times. Not his friend's face, not his enemy's. Just the Roman face, steady, taut, ready to trade inches for outcome. This isn't a meeting of men. It's a collision of intentions. First, the noise. Not the pretty crash of Hollywood steel, but the wet percussion of impact. The rip of leather, the crunch when oak punches oak. A whine of air as pila arc over a short distance and drop like a second gravity onto enemy shields. Then a shriek, not pain, not yet, just surprise as a shield suddenly weighs twice what it did a breath before. The Roman line steps, not a run. Not a heroic sprint into chaos, a measure. Heels planted, knees bent, shields forward, eyes over the rim. The front rank becomes a moving wall in a world where walls decide everything. Behind them, ranks 2 and 3 stack like storm clouds waiting to break. The pila do their work. A shield bows, a spear shaft bends and hooks into the board, tilting it down like a broken lid. For a heartbeat, the enemy's chest is open to the sky. In that window, thin as a coin, you meet the Roman knife. The Gladius isn't a duelist's toy. It's a key. It looks for locks. The soft seam between ribs. The breath gap beneath a raised arm. The line of a throat when a helmet sits wrong. Hollywood's long blades sail outward, showing off. The Gladius disappears. Moves like a thought you almost had. In, out, breathe, step, reset. Can you feel the rhythm? It is not glory. It is work. Left foot forward, shield bite, shoulder press. The rim of the scutum is a hammer that doesn't glitter, cracking shins, smashing lips. The fist behind it is a small god of momentum. A gap opens where the enemy stumbles, and 2 men behind you are already thinking about how to pour through it. The centurion says nothing special because he doesn't have to. His vine staff taps shoulders to correct posture. A sculptor's tool shaping a living statue. Order in a storm. Ranks rotate not when heroes tire, but because the math of muscle demands it. First rank fights. Second replaces them. Third breathes. The line circulates like blood through a fist that refuses to unclench. Under the helmets, heat becomes a presence. Sweat stings. Your breath is a lever dragging a weight up your ribs. Your heart writes a letter to your sternum and signs it with a hammer. Time shrinks. Minutes turn to inches. You stop measuring the day in sunlight and start measuring it in the space between your shield and his. Somewhere distant, an officer's horn cries a shape into the air. The cohort pivots and the whole earth tilts with it. The Roman genius is not just courage, it's coordination. While other armies fight like storms, loud, wild, brief, the legions fight like rivers, directed power, patient pressure. The understanding that rock loses to water in the end. Ask the man in the second rank what he fears. Not the enemy's sword. He fears dislocation. He fears the moment the machine seizes. That's why orders live in gestures as much as words. A lifted sword, a rotating hand, a small step, the human signal lamp lit inside everyone's eyes. Now the myth you carry from movies, that Romans loved a stand-up sword clash. But listen closer. That grinding sound is not blade on blade. It's shield on bone. It's iron on the rim of a friend's door, bouncing aside, making room for a stab. The Gladius isn't a conversation. It's punctuation. It ends thought. It doesn't begin one. Another myth, Romans as unstoppable statues. They were exhausted. Every few minutes, the front rank asks to change places without saying a word. A shoulder dips. The man behind flows forward, their shields kissing for an instant like relay batons, the line never losing its seam. Imagine a marathon run in square meters. That's battle. Breath becomes a currency and you spend it fast. Smell the field. Hot leather, rancid fat from armor oil, something sweet and iron when a vein opens. Trampled herbs release a ghost of green hope under boots. Around you, the soundscape narrows to a tunnel. Far voices become insects. Near voices are thunder, a comrade grunts. The simple human wordless syllable meaning I am still here. You nod though he can't see it. He feels it through your shield, your weight, your continued refusal to give the ground between your souls and the earth's spine. Somewhere along the line, the enemy's courage breaks not like glass but like rope. First a strand, then another until the pull no longer holds. The cohort senses it the way a pack senses a tremor. Shields surge. The Roman wall becomes a wedge. The wedge becomes a knife. And then, only then, does speed arrive. Not in the arms, but in the feet. Pursuit is geometry turning to hunger. You want spectacle? Try logistics. Because before this field sang with iron, the victory was loaded onto wagons. Every bread ration a silent ally. Every shovel a co-conspirator. Every march measured in the miracle that men elsewhere would still be ready to fight when they arrived. A legion builds its own ground. It sleeps behind a ditch it cut that day. It dines from a system that outlasts bravery and weather. In the long war, stomachs cast the deciding vote. Look at their hands after campaign season. Rope burns from hauling engines. Calluses from the shovel more than the blade. Nail beds blackened from hammering stakes, not from splitting skulls. Soldiers as carpenters of survival. Fortification taught them a second alphabet. Ditch, rampart, gate, watch, routine. Routine is where fear goes to quiet down. On another day, in another province, the enemy is not a line of spears, but a forest. The trees eat formation. The ground lies. A stream pretends to be shallow and then takes a man by the ankle and by the memory. Here, the Legion learns to flex. Manipular gaps create breathing lanes. Scouts talk to shadows and return with stories written in broken branches. The cohort contract expands, becomes an animal with a different spine and the same heart. No, the Romans did not simply crash forward. They listened to ground like sailors listen to wind. Terrain was an opponent to be flanked. Ridge lines weren't just scenery. They were decisions. Valleys were not shortcuts. They were mouths with teeth. The map itself asked questions, and the general's job was to answer without poetry. When the order comes to throw pila, the motion is a ritual. Step, draw back, release. A sheet of rust-red rain arcs low and mean. Half of them don't kill, they ruin. A ruined shield is a peeled eyelid. The Gladius loves nothing more, and still no duel. Face to face, you meet a man who wants to keep breathing. He is not a monster. He is not a prop. He is not a fantasy villain with a monologue. He smells like work and fear. His sword is longer. Yours is closer, he swings. Your shield eats the blow with a sound like a door kicked in. Your arm rings. You answer not with art, but with angle. The point slides beneath his ribs and you feel, not hear, a change in him. A small exhale that isn't a choice. You withdraw. You step. You live. The centurion's crest, transversely set, carves a red line above the melee. He is a lighthouse, yes, but also a metronome. When the formation drifts, he snaps it back like a tailor pulling a seam straight. His decorations are not jewelry. They are invoices paid in scars. He keeps the men's courage from spilling out through the cracks where fatigue and noise make fools of us all. Far off, cavalry sketch curves in the dust. They do not chase glory. They chase possibilities. An exposed flank, a messenger to cut down. A rumor to turn into a fact. On the hill, the standard ripples and every eye flicks to it like a swallowed prayer. As long as that cloth is high, 1,000 private worlds align into one public future. Pause, breathe, think of training. The endless, boring, life-saving repetition. Shield drills until shoulders burned. Formation turns until feet bled. Thrust, not slash, until it seeped from muscle into marrow. Rome won because it could do discipline under pressure and boredom under rain. Men who can bear tedium can bear terror longer than those who chase drama. Marching songs, crude jokes, letters home that never arrive. A dice game that steals half a month's pay. A scar named after a city you left behind. This is the soldier's interior life. He is a thread woven into a tapestry wider than his eyesight. The Empire is not marble. It's decisions like keep moving, pass the water, sow the sand, share the shade. Don't break the line, now imagine the end. The enemy withdraws not because they choose to, but because the line decides it for them. The Legion does not scream. It does not celebrate yet. It tightens its grip on now. Pursued only with permission. Killing only with control. Field left behind must feed tomorrow. If not with grain, then with warning. In the quiet afterward, the world roars back. Cicadas, crows, wind remembering grass. A helmet comes off and a man ages backward 10 years in a single breath. Water tastes like forgiveness. Someone laughs, someone doesn't. The centurion counts not bodies but heads held upright. He writes a report with dirt under his nails. Later, the storytellers will edit all of this. They will stretch swords into banners. They will compress fear into fashion. They will trade the grind for the gleam. A duel will stand in for a doctrine. A hero's scream will replace the horn. They will mistake noise for order, swing for structure, luck for design. But the men who were there, who sweated inside tin summers and wool winters, they know. They know that battle lives in inches, in breath, in the angle of a wrist and the angle of a sunbeam crossing a shield's rim. They know that victory often looks like not making a mistake at the worst possible moment. Do you still picture swirling sword dances? Try holding a shield for an hour. Feel your biceps turn to sand. Try keeping your footing on ground that suddenly forgets to be flat. Try remembering every small lesson your body learned in training, while someone's trying to erase the page you are written on. Heroism is not loud. It is stubborn. So what did a Roman soldier really do in battle? He made shape out of fear. He obeyed, he adapted. He found the shortest path between his point and the day's end. He aimed not for glory, but for tomorrow. Swords flashed, yes, but plans lasted. That's how empires walk farther than their luck. And us? We carry our own myths, showdowns, one-punch victories. The lie that big moments are born big. Watch a legion and learn a different lesson. The small held together beats the large falling apart. The ordinary done relentlessly becomes a miracle you can stand on. The sun climbs. Heat presses down. Somewhere the standard lifts again and men rise with it. More from habit than heroism. The road calls like a thin silver line stitched across the hills. Boots answer it. Shield rims knock against thighs in a rhythm that sounds like a heartbeat. History is not written with long blades. It's punched in with short ones, in brief, disciplined motions. By people who believe that order, kept under pressure, can change the world. In the end, when the camp is raised and the ditch is cut, and the watchfires prick the dusk, the legionary sits with his back against his shield and lets his spine remember being a man instead of a wall. The sky cools to iron, sparks climb. The world gets quiet enough to hear the fabric of the tent talking to the wind. He is not a statue. He is not a myth. He is a worker of outcomes. And the truth that lingers is simple, almost modest. Civilizations are built by those who keep their shape when the world leans. The Romans didn't win because they were made of legends. They won because, when it mattered, thousands of ordinary men put their edges together and refused to come apart.
It does not celebrate yet.